This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so welcome to Greek 1, session number 7. Tonight we are basically going to finish up all the words that appear more than 200 times in the Greek New Testament. So by the end of the class, you'll be able to open up and be able to point out. It takes a little bit of inference to figure this out, but you'll be able to point out approximately a third of the words that appear in the Greek New Testament. That's pretty cool, because just a few weeks ago, you probably could have pointed out anything, correct? Yes, no. Nobody wants to talk. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn about 15 new words. The first ones are like we've been doing. The last two I want to talk about just a little bit because they have some exegetical significance, and they kind of touch on they start hinting at the translation process, which I know is not in the front of your minds, but it's something that really, if you're learning Greek, you're doing it for one of a couple reasons. One of them is probably to figure out, which translation you most come in line with as far as whenever you read the Greek New Testament yourself. So that's one reason. Improving your exegesis, that's another one. Another one might be, and this is kind of what I think is really the most useful, is understanding how we arrive at the translations that we do. I think I mentioned this in the very first session of class, that whenever I set out to learn Greek, my whole idea was to liberate myself from having to use translations. But really, it ended up giving me a greater appreciation of translations, and most commonly, it's the translations that people are the most critical toward are the ones that I learned to appreciate the most, because sometimes they convey meaning a lot better than some of our word-for-word translations, which many people tend to hold more strongly to. So, start off with this word. Let's see. Chris and Ab, since you guys are back, one of you want to take the first one?
Gar, and she will bear a son, and you are to name him Jesus, Gar. He will save his people from their sins.
Any idea what Gar might mean?
No, I'm not. Nothing. Nothing's coming into my mind. What about you, Chris? No.
Anybody want to help?
Or then.
Yeah, so the most common way to translate this is for. Where this becomes a little bit confusing is that Gar and Ace, which we have talked about a little bit, both can mean for. Sometimes the distinction is very hard to tell apart, but I will tell you that if you've ever heard people argue that Ace can mean because, they argue that on the basis that Ace can mean for. This one carries more of a connotation of on the basis of. And this one is more of a because of type for. That being said, there are definitely examples where there's some crossover on that. If you can remember that it means for, that generally is enough. I will tell you that ace has to stand with an object because it's a preposition. Gar is not. And gar is more of a, it's almost used like a conjunction, especially I've been reading Ephesians. Some of you might remember that. And gar is a lot of times used to introduce new ideas, and especially it has kind of a summation of Paul's thoughts, kind of like our term therefore. This term does not mean therefore, but it can carry that sort of connotation. Any questions on that? I picked this particular verse because I felt like it held the connotation of this because of better than most of the other ones I had seen. All right. Let's see. Victoria, you want to take this one? This one actually has the answer in it. I messed it up.
On that Ikavos day, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name cast out demons, and in your name do many mighty works?
It's a new. It just looks funny because of this font.
Oh. Yeah, that's not a V. Ikanos.
Yeah, akanos. It's actually in the sentence. I forgot to delete it, or my replace function didn't work right. Any guess what akanos means?
Mighty? Oh, that.
Yeah. So we learned a word earlier that's sort of similar. What word was that? Whenever we think of that, what is kind of the word that gets paired with that? It's a little bit of read my mind. So if over there is that, what is here?
This.
This. So does anybody remember what I said the technical term for this was? It's like next level points. So this.
Wait, I think I have it. Was
You
it?
have it written down?
I think so. Hutas?
Hutas is right, but do you remember what I said the technical term for that was?
Oh, no.
I think I said it in one of the lectures. This is the near demonstrative. Do you want to guess what that is?
I would guess far.
Yeah, it's the far demonstrative. The reason I bring that up is the plural of this is also a near demonstrative, these. The plural of that is those, which is also the far demonstrative. So depending on, and we'll get to this whenever we start learning how to parse, hutas can mean this or those, this or these, depending on its ending. Akenos can mean that or those, depending on what the ending is. This is kind of another aside. Does anybody know what this word means? Ake?
Out of?
That's ek. It kind of plays off ek.
In? Into?
It means there. This means there. Sometimes it can mean place also. But nos is sort of like an ending that designates this is a noun. So it's a noun over there. That's where the term comes from. So that is over there. And I didn't talk about this, but the word this, who with an accent. So ooh, we've learned is not who. No, I won't fix it. Who means here. So it's eke there, who, toss, here. I don't know if anybody that helps me remember it, but that's, we're going to learn those words later, and that's how I keep everything straight. All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So how are we defining this word?
That or there.
Okay.
Usually that. There's a few, I will tell you, there are a few times that akenos is translated as this. In John chapter 1, where it says, the different translations vary just a little bit on this, but it says there came a man that was named John. Some of them say this man was named John. It's literally that man John. That man John name. That's how the literal translation of it is. So context will dictate how exactly you're going to translate it, but I want you to remember hutas is this, ekenos is that. Hutas, this, these, ekenos, that, those. You good?
Yes, thanks.
All right. Jake, you want to do one?
Sure. Mathetes.
Yep.
Then he got into the boat, and his mathetes followed him, disciples.
Yep. What do you guys think we get from this?
Sounds like math.
Math, yeah, that's where the word comes from. Mathetes, we are probably always going to translate it disciples. But in our language, what would we probably use for the word disciple?
Followers.
Followers would work, but I'm talking even if I walked into a classroom, kind of a hint, would we call those children sitting there disciples? Not
A
usually. I mean,
pupil or a student?
students probably what we would go with. I will tell you that there's more to it than just being a student, but there are a few times where student is an appropriate translation for this word. But especially in the Gospels, you're always going to be using disciples to translate this. Yeah. I think that's it. Oh, Victoria, you see this?
What are you pointing at? Yes.
Sometimes mathetes also takes a masculine article.
Okay.
This one is a little bit more fluid based on the particular person that's being talked about, and usually it follows natural gender, so it's kind of hard to tell them apart. But there are times, and almost always as a collective, mathetes takes a masculine article, even in cases where it's a mixed group.
So is the lexical form masculine?
Every time that I've seen it, it's been listed as masculine.
Okay.
Mathetes is you don't have to know the article to know the lexical form. It usually isn't listed. It's usually just listed it's listed like this. But mathetes is the lexical form. Okay. Since Woodbury's up and running, is Stan there? They said they were up and running. Okay, we'll put them on the back burner. Anyone from the roast household want to take one?
I'll try.
Okay.
Lambano.
Very close.
Lambano.
So you've pronounced everything right. The emphasis is on this syllable. I don't know if that means anything to you. Lambano.
Lambano.
Yeah.
Benton,
Yeah.
hello?
It is not right to what? What is it? It's not from the.
See, I'm not
Take
hearing.
bread from the children, toss it to the dog.
You guys can agree?
Hello, Quentin, you there?
Yeah. I am there. Actually, I'm here, but I'm there for you guys. Are you
There we are. Now,
hearing me?
Quentin's talking, but we ain't got a volume.
Okay. If she ever leaves again, we're canceling class.
Okay. Was it Sammy who was talking?
Yes.
Okay. I want to try to fix this. Go ahead and read the.
Okay. And he answered, "It is not right to lambano bread
We
from
had
the
it on
children
note.
and toss it to the dogs."
We're here, but now we're gonna have to watch and listen to you on the phone. Which is all from there.
Hello?
All right.
Just muted.
Give me just 1 second. We'll come back.
This conference will now be recorded.
You guys know what lambano?
Take.
Take. So take is correct. I'll tell you, this is also sometimes translated receive. Okay. It depends on the context, which way it's being used. The way it's used here is generally, it seems negative, but it can also be used in a positive sense. Like, for example, whenever it says, "He who asks receives, who seeks finds, who knocks it will be open," that is also lambano. It involves taking something in one place and moving it to another. So depending on whether that's being forcefully taken or openly taken, will determine which way you need to translate it. In this particular case, it's obvious that somebody has it. Okay, you've got the children, and then it's being given to the dogs. So you would say that's take. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is Roderick there?
He's here.
Okay. We'll let him do this one because we talked about this word, I think the first night we did vocabulary, which was like the third class.
Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the day.
Yeah. Any idea what that word means?
No.
Do you know this verse?
No.
This is one of the Beatitudes.
Earth?
Earth.
I didn't know that. Mom just told me.
Okay. So, if you remember, there used to be a car that got excellent gas mileage, and this was their symbol. Anybody know what that is?
Geo Metros.
That was the Geo. For anybody who ever had to drive. So, what does this look like? Use your imagination.
Earth. Is it on?
Yeah, it's supposed to be the Earth. It takes a little bit of imagination, but it's supposed to be the latitude and longitude lines and that sort of thing. But that's where they got the name from. And you probably heard the prefix geo before. So geo means earth. It can also mean earth. And it can also mean soil. Or sometimes land. Usually there's a different word for land, but it can also mean land. Now, what did I tell you guys? That there was well, we learned another word, and I said, usually there's a little bit different connotation for it.
Are you talking about cosmos?
Yeah, cosmos. So what definition did we learn for cosmos?
World.
World. So the difference between these two is gay, or sometimes it's got something called a movable nu. So sometimes you'll see it written as gain. It depends on the word that comes after it. It usually talks about the physical part of the earth, okay, and is generally seen as more of a concrete version of the earth. When we think about cosmos, usually that's more of an abstract term for the world and the cosmos. Cosmos is really a more developed idea outside of the New Testament, and it carries the connotation of really all the things that make up the universe in it. But it also has to do with people. So whenever it talks about love not the world, that's cosmos. The meek shall inherit the earth, that's gay. Okay? Is Chris around?
Yep.
All right. Go ahead and take this one.
Okay. Megas.
Yep.
And when they caught sight of the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with megas joy.
Want to take a stab at that one?
Yeah, it doesn't say, well, it's like great or exceedingly. Well, it already has exceedingly. Does it say that again?
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, great is the way that it's usually translated.
Yeah.
But as you can imagine, if the word is mega, it carries with it a connotation of big, powerful, that sort of thing. That one's pretty easy. That one it is virtually the same meaning as what it has in English. Just the way it's used is a little bit different. They rejoice with mega joy.
Oh, sorry.
I imagine that's the opposite of a killjoy. All right.
Quentin,
All right, the next two kind of go. Yeah.
So how does this word compare to our last vocabulary word, polluce?
So polluce is usually a measurement. Okay? It's usually comparing two things. Megas is a quality.
Okay.
Yeah, the way it was explained to me, and I have found exceptions to this, so don't take this as a hard, fast rule. Polluce means you have a large quantity of something, and megas is more qualitative. Makes sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, the next two kind of go together. Woodbury, do you feel confident enough in your mic to talk to me a little bit?
Pistis.
kind of going back, you want a little bit more emphasis on this, but you're saying it right. It's pistis.
Okay.
Okay.
And he said to them, "You fearful? Do you still have no pithis?" Faith?
You say it one more time. It was faith is what you said?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so pistis means faith. Okay? So kind of along the same lines, you guys, it erased it? No. Okay. I lost a slide. This was the one that was supposed to be next. Anyone know what that word means?
Is that faith as a verb?
Yeah. How would you say faith is a verb? I
Believe.
believe, yeah. So we're going to learn that a root doesn't always mean that the two words mean exactly the same thing, but this one gets pretty close. If you look at the root here, and you look at the root here, this P iota sigma tau thing carries the connotation of faith or belief. Okay? So if you haven't noticed this yet, nouns tend to end with sigmas, alphas, etas, and news. Verbs, regular verbs, tend to end in omegas. So if you know that rule, you can tell pretty quickly that this is the noun version of faith. This is the verb version of faith. So pistis, I believe. Pistis, belief or faith. Pistuo, I believe. I'll write that noun, verb. Everybody got that? So once again, pistuo is I believe. Victoria, you want to take another one?
Quentin, can you tell me how pistuo was spelled again? I just want to make sure to get it right.
P iota sigma, tau, epsilon, upsilon, omega.
Thank you. And that's I believe.
Yes. And speaking of I believe the accent is on the iota. But you might want to check that one. I'll probably send that out in the email with the video. But I believe it's on the iota. Okay, Victoria?
And Udes was able to answer him a word, nor did anyone dare to question him any more from that day on.
Yep. What do you think Udes means?
You
want a hint?
Does it have not anywhere in it?
Yeah, so we start off with this word, which we've determined means a negative thing, right? So no, not, none. Okay? Now, this isn't exactly the same, but when you look at this word, does this kind of remind you of another word?
Well, the word ace.
Okay. So no for, no to, no toward. Probably not that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any other words that kind of look like that?
I'm just getting like the words, the idea of he and not, or it, or something and not. Or they.
What if I do this?
Oh, is that the word for one?
Yeah. So
Oh, no
it's
one.
really hard.
No one, I get it.
Yeah, no one. So it's really hard to have the rough breathing in the middle of a word. So what they did is they replaced it with a different sound, which is the delta, which is a dental. We'll learn about that later, but usually whenever they do this, they put a dental in the middle of them, and you take the word for not and no, you add the word for one, and you get no one. We're going to learn a lot of words that have some mixture of these two roots, and you just have to remember which vowels come between them. I will tell you that this would actually start out like this. And because of contraction, and similar to that new that I added to gay a minute ago, they didn't like to have two breaths in a row, and they would try to avoid that. And to avoid that, they would add another consonant between them. That's where that came from.
So if there's a word like no one, is there a word like someone? We learned a word.
We actually already learned.
Did we learn a word that meant someone? Or something?
Tis. Without the accent.
Okay.
Tis can mean someone, anyone, something, anything, anyone, a certain one. It's really fluid in what it can mean. Okay. All right. Let's have Dad do this one because I know he knows this word.
Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Hagios Spirit.
Did you get your H in there?
Hagios Spirit.
The short O.
Okay, it's Hagios Spirit.
Hagios. Yeah. Hagios. Okay.
Holy.
So Hagios.
Holy. 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 Holy.
Now, anyone happen to know the kind of interesting thing that happens with this word when you use it as a plural?
Trinity.
So as a singular adjective, it means holy. As a plural noun, hagios means saints. So whenever we use the term saint to describe one another, it's meaning we are holy people. Any questions on that? I'm not making you backward translate, so it's not terribly important, because all you need is one of these definitions and I'll give you credit. But I just want you to be aware of these, because at some point we're going to get to a verse, say we're translating Revelation, and you run across the word, it would be that would be hagias, and you see that word, and translating it holy when there's nothing for it to modify makes no sense, and it's saints. All right. Anyone haven't done one that would like to do one? And everybody speak at once.
I guess
Why don't you take? Oh. All right, Ralphie, step up. All right. So whenever you got a longer word like this, it's best to break it up. Okay. So what does this sound?
Alpha.
Which is?
A.
Ah. What's that sound? P omicron?
Pa.
Pa. Now you can't, this font makes it funny. That's a kappa.
That's a K.
Yeah. And this is a rho. It's kind of funny font.
Car. Cree.
Cree.
Nah.
Nah. What sound does the alpha and the iota make together?
A.
Close. Yeah. I. So this is like my. So try putting it all together.
Apocryna. Me.
My. Apocrynomai.
But he I saying to the one who had told him, who is my mother, and who are my brothers?
This was just a little bit harder to figure out, but does anybody know what apocrynomai means? Yeah. I don't know if you guys could hear Glenn, but it's answered. And for the handful of you who are studying ahead, apocrynomai is almost always thought of in the imperfect, even when it's used in the present, which is kind of a weird function. And this is something else that we'll start noticing. A lot of times they will follow answered with saying. Anyone know why they do that? It's similar to something else, which is he opened his mouth and said. It's a Semitic idiom, so it's based on some of the Semitic languages like Hebrew. That's where it comes from. It's the way they would say it. In Attic Greek, you probably won't find it. In Homeric Greek, you probably won't find it. In the Gospels, you find it quite a bit. In Paul's writings, not so much. In Luke's writings, sometimes, but not as often. Acts, you do find it, but it is less. So it kind of brings out the person who was writing the book. All right. Jake, you want to take another one?
Sure. Anama.
Yep.
Jesus asked him, "What is your anama?" And he said, "Legion," for many demons had entered him. The name?
Yep. Anima means name. Any questions on that one? Pretty straightforward. All right. Ab, have you only done one?
Yeah, I got it. But as for Jesus,
Okay.
he did not entrust himself to them, because he genosko all men. Genosko, Christus said.
Yeah,
Because
gnosko.
Knew?
Yeah. So gnosko is I know. This particular form, yes, is the this is the aorist used here. This might not help you remember it, but it might help some people remember it. Anyone know what this word is? I spelled it wrong. That word. This is supposed to be a gamma.
Is it knowledge?
Yeah, gnosis. You know what word we get from gnosis? We get knowledge. So
Gnostic.
Gnostic, yeah. This is where the term Gnostic comes from. And these all share the same root. So gnosko is where the Gnostics got their term because they thought they knew something secret about the gospel. Okay? All right. Chris, why don't you do this one since you guys are looking at the TV or computer or something.
Oh, okay. Let me see it.
Don't touch the screen.
Just break it down. How would you say that?
X.
That.
Air. Is that a kappa or a?
That's a key.
Oh, it's a key. Co. Oh, yeah. Ka. No.
Ka.
Ka. My.
Yep.
Xericomai.
Xericomai.
With the things that go
We've
out.
already learned.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. We'll go over that in a second.
Oh, okay. But the things that go out of the mouth, exercomai from the heart, and these defile the person. Proceed.
Okay. We usually translate this proceed. But to help, I want us to see this because there's several of these that are coming. What does this word mean? I believe we've already learned this one. Yes. Ericomai?
I come, I go.
Yeah, so I come / I go. Okay. So we've got X. What do you think the prefix X means? X. What do you do when you exit a building? I guess if you're in the building, what happens when you exit?
You leave it.
You leave it, but you're in the building. Where are you after?
Out.
You go out. So the root meaning of exercomai is I go out. Now, usually we'll end up translating it something along the lines of I exit, or as Chris put, in this case when it's more of a concept, I proceed. But the idea is you've combined this preposition ek with erkomai, I come and go, to get a new word. So you could also put that go out of the mouth, go out from the heart, or come out from the heart. That works too. Just a little trivia thing here. It breaks these two words apart. It's kind of a play on words. Okay. So the last two words, anybody can take them. This one and this one. We've already done this one. Well, we talked about it. It wasn't a vocab word.
Is it man?
Okay, so aner is man. We'll go ahead and show this. Andros is the genitive, which at some point we'll need to know that. But aner is the one that I want you to memorize. Now, the root meaning of this is man, but it's not always translated man. Anyone know why?
Sometimes husband in the context.
That's the biggest one. So, Chris, what would suggest that it would be husband instead of man? What would you be looking for in the context?
Oh, yeah, something to do with
Whoa, man.
showing that man being connected to a woman.
That's usually what you're looking for. Specifically, there's usually the genitive form. And the base meaning of the genitive is?
Ownership, possession.
Yeah, possession is the baseline meaning of the genitive. Okay? I would like to challenge that just a little bit because it can also be description. And when we think of possession, we think of it as ownership or having something. It's something that belongs to us. We bought it. In their minds, it was more of a qualifier as to what group it belonged to. So when you combine aner with this word, who wants to take this one? I feel like this is a good word for Janet.
Gune.
Gune. Yeah. Any guess what, based on what we're talking about, what Gune means?
Could it be girl?
An older girl. Woman. Or
We're close.
It's female.
based on
Female.
female, or the last word that we said, we also said aner can mean husband. So what do you think Gune can mean?
Wife.
Yeah, why?
Okay.
Wife. Yeah.
Now,
Where I thought he was going was
anybody remember the different letters that I said could be used to transliterate an upsilon? Anybody?
Is Y one of them?
Yeah. So the three letters are U, V, and Y. So a gynecologist is a woman doctor, as in a doctor for women, not a female doctor. Those are two different things, and the same thing. They can be the same thing. Okay, that's where that term comes from. The reason I bring these two particular words up is it starts opening us up to the idea of we need to abolish the idea that translating is going to be a look at the word, come up with the word, look at the word, come up with the word. You're going to have to evaluate what things say as a whole to figure out what it means. One of the things that becomes exegetically difficult in English is the qualifications of elders and deacons. Whenever you start looking at the phrase, a husband of one wife, okay. It's an aner of one gune. So it's someone who currently possesses one wife, which to me is a lot more exegetically understandable than trying to define exactly what husband of one wife means. Because this is present, the current status of things. and it implies that you could go find the Gune and demonstrate who she is. So you might have heard this translated as a one-woman man, which I think is a better way to understand this particular discussion. Okay. As I said in the email, I am still going to try to do the PowerPoint's, I guess, podcast quick video review thing where I basically will say the word, give you about 10 seconds to think of the answer, then go to the next slide, tell you what it means. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that before this weekend, just because I have some other things I need to attend to. And the other thing, Jake, did you make that those flashcards public?
Yes, it can be accessed with a password. The password is ISBE, all capital letters.
Password. Like that?
Yes.
Okay.
And they can just search for my username, which is Jacob, capital R, 5807.
Like that?
And that's on Quizlet.
Yeah. Quizlet is my favorite study resource for vocabulary. It's what I use every week on my vocabulary test. You can do things besides just flashcards. What is there? There's a matching test. There's the typing thing. You can do Greek to English and English to Greek. It lets you flip the cards over. If you have a keyboard that's set up to type in Greek, you can do that. But yeah, it's a good resource, and it's very good for once you have some idea of what all the words mean for quick review. There's an app for Apple devices. I assume there's one for Android devices too. Any other questions or comments?
So does that have all of the vocab on it so far?
I've entered everything that we did up until tonight. Some of it needs to be edited because I couldn't figure out how to put the breathing marks on top of the letters. So if someone knows how to do that, they can log in and use the password to edit that.
What I can do for you, Jake, I will send you the master list of all this. And usually you can just copy and paste it in, and it'll accept those.
Okay.
You give that a try. If you're still having problems, I do have some Greek fonts, and I can figure something out if nobody else can.
Okay, sounds good.
Worst case scenario, I can copy and paste a picture in there. Okay? Anything else from anybody?